The season decider for 60-plus racing adventures Indy Next is upon us. 2 races and the champion will be crowned here at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. 60-plus racing adventures is the iRacing league for drivers 60 years of age or older, and it shows us that age is no hindrance to a love for racing and good competition. Delighted to be here live with you on RaceSpotTV. David Haynes with Lorenzo Bonda as Hugo Lewis is in the production. 2 races ahead of us, Lorenzo. This is a car with plenty of horsepower, and this is a high-speed track.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most traditional and classic tracks of all motorsport. Some would say the home of British racing in Silverstone. Can't wait to see this one. And we should end this season in a banger with really good 2 races that we have left.
So this has been the season 37 calendar. It all began back there at Road America, races through to here at Silverstone. Greg Seitz leads the championship from Roberto Catalano and Todd Scholl. Former champion Russ Addy sits 4th in the points, ahead of Barry Hills, Greg Garris, Mike McCormick, Kevin Bergquist, Pete Thomas, and our top 10 is completed by Franz Josef Sturm. They're in qualifying right now before the first of 2 15-lap races on this full Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. There is the Hangar Straight. The speeds are exceeding 260 kilometers an hour for this car. It sits just underneath IndyCar and it represents a step up from some of the previous cars that have run in this open wheeler category of 60-plus racing adventures. Longest running division of 60-plus. Previously in things like the Star Mazda or Formula 3 car or the Super Formula Light that stepped up to Indy Next. It's created some great racing, but it has been a little bit wilder. Everything happens a little bit quicker when you've got a turbocharged engine in the back of your Indy Next car.
Especially if they have a push-to-pass that adds just 50 more brake horsepower into that machine. So it's something else. It's close to what the real-life Indy provides. You know, it's of course not the same in terms of brake horsepower, but the push-to-pass button for the drivers to use. So this is going to be an interesting track where I would say there's lots of spots in the racetrack where the push-to-pass can be used. And some in very tricky ways, not just to defend, but also to attack.
In this 10-minute qualifying session, it seems like almost everyone has gone out and completed their laps. Roberto Catalano sits in the provisional pole at the moment from Pete Thomas, Trevor Lawrence in 3rd. We look at Ulf Olsen on track in 11th. He's practicing his pit entry by the looks of things. 60 kilometers an hour, I think it is, here at this layout of Silverstone. A few of the other drivers that are out there include Barry Hills, Russ Addy. We're looking at Pete Thomas, this driver currently 2nd in the qualifying session for race 1. 18 drivers have set qualifying times, and then Richard Coulomb does not appear that he has been out on track in this session.
Neither is Greg Seitz.
Yep, I was looking. He does not appear in this server for race 1. This is Barry Hills, who qualified 5th. Very close in that middle part of the field. Just behind Kevin Bergquist, just ahead of Mike McCormick. Looks like his teammate Kahardis Jorison has qualified 10th, and they've put a couple of extra sponsors on the car since last time I looked. So the side pod is filling up, hopefully with delicious snacks.
You gotta make the sponsors happy, man.
There's currently TV ads airing in Australia for a brand of corn chips. It is the official corn chips of Formula 1. I don't know quite how that ties in together, but I do love a good snack food, and I do love some racing, so hopefully this is a combination of those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, they are not powered by Honda, so I think we can say that that is one positive aspect, I think, for all cars. As Barry's kind of come to the pit box to basically round up his qualifying run as we're approaching final 30 seconds of qualifying.
Yeah, not too far from getting into the 15-lap race. Now, you're seeing that the pole time is 1:46, so we should actually get through 15 laps pretty quickly. This is a circuit with a handful of long straights, like the front straight here, then the Wellington straight, the old pit straight, the hangar straight. They really get to stretch their legs above 200 kilometers an hour very often and very frequently. And we'll take a look at the grid. Now that the qualifying is wrapped up, Roberto Catalano is on pole position from Pete Thomas in second, Trevor Lawrence in third, and then Kevin Bergquist there in fourth, Barry Hills in fifth, Mike McCormick in sixth. Todd Scholl has qualified seventh with Franz Josef Sturm in eighth. Russ Addy representing BMW Sauber circa 2007-2008, ninth on the grid. Johannes Jorgensen, as I said earlier, in 10th. Ulf Olsen in 11th. Steve O'Malley in 12th. Douglas Beasley in 13th, Eugene Clark in 14th, Peter Holstrom in 15th, Randy Shoemaker in 16th, Bruce Poole 17th, JC Hay 18th is the last driver who set a qualifying time, but we still might see Richard Coulomb starting from 19th on the grid for race 1 and 2 here at Silverstone. All drivers starting with 150 seconds of push to pass for this race. So that's about 10 seconds a lap, but I believe the system doesn't become active until they finish the first lap. So there's the remaining 14 laps of the race where you can use it. It's been closer to 11 or 12 seconds of push to pass, and like you said, Lorenzo, that gives them 50 extra horsepower for however long they want to hold that button down.
Yeah, absolutely, David. Not only to attack, but also to defend, David. So this is going to be an interesting one for us to take a look on. Also, how they're going to handle turn 1, Abbey, with those coat tires that usually can catch even the most experienced of drivers off the car.
So 27-degree track temperature is lovely. The pace car is in, and Roberto Catalano has wasted no time in the final sequence of corners, like a club, to punch onto the Hamilton straight, dive into the fast turn 1. These cars have got big slick tyres. They've got plenty of downforce. They seem to be negotiating that very, very well. Big braking zone at turn 3, heading into the loop. Not much has changed in our top 10. Todd Scholl and Russ Addy picking up one spot, but your top 3 basically going single file as they begin to build tyre temperature and then build back up to speed. On board with fourth place Kevin Bergquist as he goes up through the gears. We're right on board here. There is a big green light that comes on the steering wheel when they are using push to pass. One of the things that makes it very easy to know. He's in behind Trevor Lawrence, who hasn't got away to quite such a flying start.
Yeah, as they just pass through Woolfield, and they're going to come down into the old straight there and now down into Cops, as we had this beautiful shot from Hugo coming into Cops down there. A high-speed corner. Some would say flat out for some of the cars. In F1 you can do that. I don't know how that is done in the Dallara IL-15. So, but nevertheless, beautiful scene so far, and a clean start for everybody. That's what we want to see the most.
Barry Hills comes onto the hangar straight just behind Kevin Bergquist. Looking at our top 5 heading down the hangar straight, Mike McCormick moves to one side of the road, shows us Russ Addy, and then a little bit of a gap to Franz Josef Sturm and Gerhard Jorgensen completing the top 10. Stowe corner, slightly off camber, but these cars, for the reasons we pointed out, they've got plenty of grip. They don't have a full top flight race car amount of horsepower, so they really can go quickly through those sequences. The corners carry a lot of speed in. Barry Hills exits the final corner, and already we're one lap completed. As they cross the line, it should activate the push-to-pass system, and Kevin Bergquist just checks that it's working. A few drivers now beginning to push a little bit of that button. McCormick and Addy. Russ Addy had a great start, but Addy dives down the inside on Mike McCormick. Takes that spot perfectly. Addy's making moves.
Yeah, great move from Addy going into farm and making it very clean. That's a good textbook overtake headed down into turn number 3. But the thing is, once you attack, you got to defend, and you got 3 guys lurking down behind that probably want to take that position away from him if he makes a mistake, Cyril.
Roberto Catalano using his push to pass, trying to break the slipstream to Pete Thomas in second, and that group of drivers second, third, fourth, fifth. You see this battle going on 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. They begin to drop behind the leaders a little bit, but we'll see what kind of pace an unleashed Russ Addy can give. One of the most impressive parts of the racetrack is right here. Maggots and Beckett's multiple quick changes of direction. Chappell is this final right-hander, and setting up your exit there, you get to full power before the little kink on the exit and carry full throttle all the way down Hanger Straight here. This is a car that has pretty significant slipstream at these high-speed tracks. You can see it's keeping a bunch of drivers in touch with Todd Scholl and Russ Addy. Curtis Jorrison is one of them as he slipstreams Franz Josef Sturm, who slipstreams Mike McCormick.
Yeah, right now it's going to be a little bit complicated for you to make moves in this draft train for everybody. It's probably going to be dependent on either you overuse the push the power button and try to make an overtake that might not work in the first place, or a driver mistake up in the front, and that might open your door to take an attempt and maybe pass or not the car ahead of you.
There's Jorrison in 10th. Part of this group, Russ Addy has caught Todd Scholl. Now looking at him on board with Russ Addy, who was a couple tenths quicker last lap than Scholl, and I feel like has caught a lot in this first sector of the lap. Long right-hander here, exit pretty critical onto the old pit straight that now houses the support paddocks often. And a gap is formed between 5th place Barry Hills and 6th place Todd Scholl, leaving Scholl a little vulnerable to Russ Addy.
Yeah, and luckily for him, not a single moment of aero push, which can happen in these machines since they generate a lot of downforce, but Russ doing cleaner lines so far, it might actually have an overtake attempt.
There's the green line on the bottom of the dash as he goes up into 6th gear, the tallest gear, with push to pass, carrying him so much speed and straight around Todd Scholl. A good exit then allowed him to use that, and Russ Addy's moved up 3 spots in this race into 6th. Roberto Catalano's lead out to 1.8 seconds, so his early aggressive use of push to pass has bought him a little bit of time that he's going to look to manage that gap for the remainder of the race. But a few of those other drivers are going to have some more horsepower to use than him later on. Entering pit lane comes Douglas Beasley.
Yeah, potentially a problem in the car for the number 9, and a little bit unfortunate unless something else that we probably haven't seen has happened to Beasley, as it's complicated. But luckily for him, it sounds like a long pit stop for run, but it's not quite because of the 80 kilometers per hour by F1 standards.
On board with Kevin Bergqvist in 4th place. There's a good pack here from 2nd, 3rd, 4th. They're just beginning to drop. Barry Hills in 5th position. Kevin Bergqvist has already used 30 seconds of push to pass, more than the 2 drivers in front, and he gets on it again, exiting Cops Corner just for a little bit in 5th gear. Everyone's on the button. The Hanger Straight. Catalano, Thomas, Lawrence, Bergqvist, Barry Hills. The top 5 now on the Hanger Straight. So when the driver in front's using push to pass and you're using push to pass, you don't catch them quite as much as you'd like. And there is a bit of a deficit for how much they've got remaining against Bergqvist's favour. Lawrence runs a bit deep in the way into that complex. Bergquist using more push to pass again onto the pit straight. So as he keeps using it, the gap between himself and Lawrence gets even more. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is getting into a slightly better position strategically. Bergquist very, very brave in the big braking zones.
I think if you wanted to risk an overtake attempt right after Village and into the loop, it could have gone that, but the door would be really tight for him to actually try to get on and get over that door. But thought it better and didn't go for that overtake attempt, and now it's just gonna be in this draft once again around Brooksfield and Littlefield.
Oh, Russ Addy sideways in the back, a shot there. So he's been pushing very, very hard. It's going to cost him a position. Todd Scholl's going to come back for 6th position, as Russ Addy has gone wide, made a mistake and got a little bit sideways. He's been pushing very hard, but he's just overcooked it a little bit there and lost 6th place.
Yeah, like I told you before, you know, once you made that overtake, you're gonna be potential victim to guys up behind you that want to take that place back or even overtake you because they haven't had the opportunity before. We're gonna look at the replay, a little bit of oversteering inputs and maybe some throttling as well, and the car got a little bit loose, and then the rest is history, right, David? Just lost position and it has to recompose.
Big snaps exiting the corner suggest that
and again
the right foot was involved. Russ Addy's come into the pit lane now after that. Saw drivers practicing their pit entries at the end of qualifying. Steve O'Malley will come in as well. We look at Trevor Lawrence being pressured by Kevin Bergquist. Less than a car length involved here. Bergquist continually ratcheting up the pressure here.
Meanwhile, David, I think Catalano is doing a really good job, you know, putting Thomas in his place, you know, not letting the number 7 get closer. 2 seconds, 0.2 already open, but Thomas already doing a really good job as well, keeping Lawrence at bay, and Bergquist too, as we're seeing on screen, with another 2.2 gap open on these two guys.
Well, the pit stops we've seen so far have been around 9 seconds. Might get a few more in a lap or so's time when we get closer to the halfway point of this 15-lap race. Looking at Lawrence, Bergquist and Hills down the hangar straight. Barry Hills was the quickest of all of them on the last lap. He's been catching this group, and Bergquist being a tiny bit held up or just being a little bit cautious in some places. Losing time to Pete Thomas there in second, who again is not quite keeping up with Roberto Catalano leading the race. Barry Hills goes a tiny bit wide out the final corner, but no harm done. Lawrence went wide, didn't quite get the mix of steering input and braking right, and then he's had a little slide there. We're going to be side by side coming onto the Wellington straight. Trevor Lawrence around the outside rounds up Kevin Bergquist, who got alongside in the battle, and is starting to see a couple of little mistakes in front of him. Barry Hills gets yet closer as Bruce Poole will become the 4th driver this race to come into pits.
Yeah, and I think amongst all this, I'm not going to say foreplay between Bergquist and Lawrence, it allowed Barry Hills to get a little bit closer and join the framing in a 3-way battle, even though for now Hills is just sitting as a spectator in this whole affair in front of him.
Point of this lap is about the halfway point of the race, if that's how people strategically want to think about it. Barry Hills has 150 seconds of push to pass left because he hasn't used any. He's in behind Kevin Bergquist, who's already used about half. Trevor Lawrence has used about a third. Roberto Catalano has used over half. There's pit entry to the very right-hand side there. Interesting pit entry that it is here on this version of Silverstone.
More drivers into the pit lane. McCormick and Jorgensen into the pit lane to do their service.
Purple on the dash when the speed limiter is engaged. Green when it's pushed to pass. And again, seeing about 9-second stops are the norm. McCormick and Jorgensen got to trundle a long way down the lane to find their crew before their service begins. And JC Hay also comes into pit lane. Trevor Lawrence is driving down the Wellington straight in a defensive position before coming back onto the racing line for the corner in front of Kevin Bergquist, who has been pressuring him. And some slightly quicker stops here from these drivers, just 8 seconds for Gerhardus Jorgensen, who beats Mike McCormick out of pit lane. Ulf Olsen is around. Wide on the way in, so he's tight in the next. Right foot induced issue.
Yeah. Just a tiny snap. That was enough to turn the car around. I think having also the car nearly on full lock, going between Village and Loop, aided on the car maybe just gaining some more overheat in the tires, and just maybe that's why he half spun at the exit of the loop.
From second place, just in front of these drivers, Pete Thomas comes into the pit lane. Roberto Catalano stays out. Trevor Lawrence, Kevin Bergquist and Barry Hills all stay out. But as they cross the line now, they're all past the halfway point of the race. Franz Josef Sturm will come in. So now about half the drivers have stopped and half of them haven't. Battle between Lawrence and Bergquist momentarily goes up to a battle for second place. Into hot. Trevor Lawrence spins around. Kevin Bergquist takes second place. Trevor Lawrence comes to a stop off the track. And he appears to have some kind of problem.
Stalled? Stalled the car maybe? Yep. Seems like he stalled the car.
He just revved it in neutral then, but he's in reverse. Yeah, okay, now he's going. Weird issue. Do you think he might have had a problem that led to that, rather than just...
Oi!
Oh, Randy Shoemaker spins.
Yeah, as a collateral from the rejoin. But, yeah, it could be. That could be, you know, the lack of anti-stall clutch or something like it, David, that could have, you know, made Lawrence lose a lot of time in between Village and Loop.
Things have gotten worse for Ulf Olsen, who has a black flag. I think he's been speeding on pit entry because he's in pit lane right now, and so his stop time is much longer than 8 or 9 seconds. That's probably going to be more like 49 seconds. Coolum's just been off the road. Roberto Catalano, the race leader, comes into pit lane. So he needs to cover off Pete Thomas, who had a 9-second stop. Barry Hills and Todd Scholl come in. Kevin Bergquist stays out.
I think he's going to be able to do it. The gap was already very big between Catalano and Thomas. So even if the pit stop is slightly slower, I think it won't matter much.
Go, and in perfect place to drive straight out of the lane for Catalano. Pete Thomas is on the front straight, but Catalano will be ahead after that pit stop phase. Kevin Bergquist, Eugene Clark, the only drivers that haven't stopped just yet from our leaders. Oh, but there's a drama for Russ Addy and Barry Hills. The two of them have collided at turn 2. Was one of them exiting the pit lane? Potentially. Barry Hills was exiting pit lane and he's made contact with Russ Addy.
Ooh, and things not looking good for Barry Hills as he comes back into the racetrack. Don't know if it is some damage in the car, but
things are worse for Ross Addy.
Yeah.
Ross Addy had stopped 4 laps ago. Barry Hills was just exiting the pit lane, and the two of them have come together in turn 2 on their way to the braking zone of turn 3. Bergqvist and Clark still need to pit. This is from Ross Addy's perspective.
Oi!
Yeah. He does not expect Barry Hills to just drive over there.
No, and I think I wonder if Barry's spotter actually let him know that Addy was on the inside by the time he actually got out of the pit lane. So that could have been an issue.
Kevin Bergqvist is pitting and Eugene Clark is pitting. Now everyone has made a pit stop. Roberto Catalano is about to go back to the lead of the race ahead of Pete Thomas. Todd Scholl and Gerhardus Jorgensen are going to be 3rd and 4th. They are just ahead of this group. Francois Sturm with Mike McCormick behind him. Ross Addy was one of the drivers charging through the field, but his race 1 at least has come undone there. The other drivers that have gained many positions, Gerhardus Jorgensen from 10th on the grid, you can see here, is now in 5th, ahead of this group of drivers, Francois Sturm and Mike McCormick. So that quick stop from Jorgensen has benefited him greatly. Oh dear, and for Mike McCormick, he's had a spin. Well, more of a slide.
Yeah, less than ideal, but still kept it on the racetrack. Not a whole lot of a time loss.
Eugene Clark has just had a mishap somewhere, so things have become quite difficult in this stage of the race. Milano leading by 3.9 seconds, about the same amount of push to pass as Pete Thomas. Todd Scholl is using his right now. And the first driver who looks like they might run out could be Kevin Bergqvist. He's got the least remaining of anyone and he's using it. But by the timing gaps, Kevin Bergqvist is pretty comfortably in 3rd at the moment. You're looking at 4th, 5th and 6th coming into Stowe Corner off the Hangar Straight.
And he's gaining some ground on Todd Scholl as we speak. So Scholl cannot relax way too much, you know, and because that 966 car is looking really good lap by lap, and there's a good chance that a door might open for Jorgensen to do that overtake.
Second gear, the drivers have got to be careful applying the power, and then as they get up to 3rd and 4th gear, there's more grip aerodynamically. And so they're always just waiting a little moment before they can use the push to pass. Scholl ahead of Jorgensen right here. Scholl's got a little bit more push to pass. Kevin Bergqvist up the road is down to just 34 seconds, but we're down to just 3 more laps to go.
Yeah, not a whole lot of a time to cut back any deficits and try to make something happen. But for Thomas, but Jorgensen has some room, still has some time and room to actually make that overtake to get further into the top 5, but cannot make any mistakes. Toom is right behind, just looking for an opportunity to get passed by them in case of any mistake happening.
4/10 back. Slipstream worth 3 or 4 kilometers an hour there for Gerhardus Jorgensen, as both drivers used about the same amount of push to pass. So cumulatively around the lap, at the high average speeds of this track, the slipstream's pretty good, but there's no one long, really long straight. they seem to get alongside easily. So overtakes do need to be worked for. 3 laps to go as they cross the line right there. Both drivers in shot have 56 seconds of push to pass left. Roberto Catalano has 45 in the race lead ahead of Pete Thomas and Kevin Bergquist. Franz Josef Sturm not quite able to keep up with this group of drivers despite having a little more push to pass than them, so he should be using that. And he's a little hesitant to push the button as much as he has still available.
Kind of maybe split down the line 50-50 for the final 2 laps.
I mean, I say, and the expression goes, smoke them if you've got them, because you don't get to take any leftover push to pass into race 2. It all resets to 150, so there's no point taking the checkered flag and still having any left.
That's fair, as he just used right after Luffield going into Woodcut, and but still not enough to cut down the deficit. As you can see from the screen right there, David, 53 seconds of push to pass left for Jorgensen to use, despite the skid that he just had at the exit of a chapel.
He's on the button the whole way down the hangar straight. Yep, basically took about 10 seconds of it there. Todd Scholl used plenty of it as well. Roberto Catalano has crossed the line for 2 laps to go at Silverstone.
Catalano, the only driver in the 47s from what it looks like in the whole grid.
Now, if Roberto Catalano wins this, he's going to make the championship look a lot closer than it maybe has felt at times. Looks like Greg Seitz' points lead is unassailable, but the points lead is about 60 points. Roberto Catalano might be about to come out of this round with a 47 or 48 points. But Greg Seitz appears to be mathematically unassailable. To take every single point, you need to not just win the race, but you need to claim a pole position. You need to claim fastest lap in that same race. Roberto Catalano had the pole. He's on his way to take the white flag in the lead of this race, and he has the fastest lap of the race at the moment as well. Here he is. He's excited for a new season of Formula One, I would dare say, for the Italian. His rear wing on this car will not flip upside down, but he does have an overtake mode, so he's close.
Yeah, as he opens up the final lap, and what can we say? A preview what Ferrari can be for the following F1 season.
That's the beauty of being a Ferrari fan. I believe they get to start every year with hope renewed afresh. Todd Scholl and Gerhardus Jorgensen are so close. They're the highest placed battle at the moment for 4th and 5th. They have dropped Franz Josef Sturm, Mike McCormick, Steve O'Malley, Douglas Beasley and Trevor Lawrence. Gerhardus Jorgensen is looking for any kind of opportunity. He's got a little bit more push to pass. He's going to use some of it. He's going to run out of straight just in time. But if Scholl runs out on the hangar straight and Jorgensen has still got it, this could get very, very interesting there. Roberto Catalano's surely going to burn all of his. Old pit straight for Scholl and Jorgensen. Neither of them touch the button. They're saving it for the hangar straight, it seems. Jorgensen's just 3/10 back. Gets a good run through Kopp's corner. No braking zone really to speak of on the way into the Maggots and Beckett's sequence of corners here. You're just rolling the car, rotating it and trying to get turned for that final exit there. And as this is the final lap, Roberto Catalano is now expecting the checkered flag. Race 1 of 2 at Silverstone for the 60 Plus Racing Adventures Indy Next League finale. Roberto Catalano is going to win. Pete Thomas sitting in second and Kevin Bergquist looking like he's going to come home in third. Todd Scholl out of push to pass. Gerhardus Jorrison has still got 13 seconds, but the checkered flag is going to come out of this corner. And Jorrison pushes the button now and he spins it sideways over the start-finish line. Gassed it up with that extra 50 horsepower. He should have used it earlier in the lap.
Yeah, at least he got style points out of it, though.
Bruce Poole and JC Hay are going to race back around to the end of this race. They did have Richard Coulomb near them, but he has, I think, gone over 17 incident points.
Which in a track like this, it's kind of funny, but it's possible. It's very easy for you to get that.
Oh, well, here we go. JC Hay is going to join them as Shoemake and Poole lock up a little bit going into Vale Corner and then exiting Club. Shoemake will stay ahead of Poole and JC Hay. All of these drivers making up 4 positions from where they qualified, mainly at the expense of Richard Coulomb, Barry Hills, Russ Addy, and Ulf Olsen. That's everyone over the checkered flag. Roberto Catalano wins from pole position and grabs the fastest lap of the race. Pete Thomas in second, Kevin Bergquist in third, then Todd Scholl, Gerhardus Jorrison, Franz Josef Sturm, Mike McCormick, Steve O'Malley, Trevor Lawrence, and Douglas Beasley. Peter Holstrom in 11th from Randy Shoemake, Bruce Poole and JC Hay. We saw those drivers right at the end. JC Hay was definitely behind them, but it says he was a minute 14. I don't get that. Ulf Olsen there in 15th, and then Eugene Clark and Richard Coulomb a lap down. Barry Hills and Russ Addy colliding in turn 2. Race winner Roberto Catalano is going to join us. Grande, Roberto. Well done. Hello, Roberto. Roberto is here. It does not say muted next to his name, but we cannot hear Roberto Catalano, unfortunately. We've spoken to him before on RaceSpotTV and 60 Plus Racing Adventures.
Hi guys. Hi guys.
Now we've got him. Hey Roberto, hello.
Okay. I am any problem with the Discord, but it happens. Okay.
We hear you. How was your race?
Yes, my race is good, very good. I do the pole position. I start fast and I finish fast. But I have Pete behind me that push very hard, and in the first laps it was difficult to create a gap with him, and he is very fast, no error, great race, and I was lucky that I win.
You have a great looking livery. Is 2026 going to be Ferrari's year?
Yes, the livery is of my partner, of my teammate that do a great qualify, third place. I have the shoulders covered. In Italian, we say this, but on the race he have any problem, but he did a great qualify, and delivery is chosen by him.
Very nice, very nice. Well, it looks like you're going to end up maybe just about 10 or 15 points behind Greg Seitz in the championship. It's looked like it's very close. He's a very good driver, but you've had some race wins as well.
For me, it's an honor, and in second place behind Greg, because Greg is a great driver, and I hope to learn from him on any race. I am not sorry that he not present in this race, but he is the principle of my win. if there is Greg, I don't think I can win.
Well, congratulations. Best of luck with one more race to go this season.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Race winner Roberto Catalano joining us, and great to hear from him and hear his passion. He's got one more race to go, as do we here on RaceSpotTV for this season of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. A little break, and when we come back, the final race of the round and the season for 60 Plus Racing Adventures Indy Next at Silverstone. final race for this season of 60 plus racing adventures is live here on RaceSpotTV with David Haynes and Lorenzo Bonda qualifying underway to set the grid for the final 15-lap race. Greg Seitz is already mathematically wrapped the championships, and Roberto Catalano has slotted into second place. But the racing was super interesting, so we'll see what they can deliver for one last time here at Silverstone. Like drivers are just beginning their first of two flying laps, Lorenzo.
Yeah, looking forward for this final qualifying season. Good to see everybody still back on track, trying to go one more time. And we got 15 more laps of... there was some good action around here on Silverstone for the first time that we raced on today. So looking forward for the second one.
With Barry Hill's end of the Wellington straight. Car wants to wash out just a little bit in the left-hander. Now down into second gear, long right-hander. We saw drivers have to be very careful with how they opened up the throttle there. And then through into third gear, fourth gear very quickly. The turbocharged power begins to carry them down the straight. Cops corner, super committed. One downshift into fifth gear for Barry Hills. Sectors so far belong to Roberto Catalano, Barry Hills and Pete Thomas. So Barry Hills is on a good lap right here. His second sector, so that's through turns 3, 4 and onto the Wellington straight, was very competitive. Gets to the end of the Hangar straight, Stowe corner, long right-hander, late apex, and then opening it up a little bit on the exit there. One last big braking zone for the lap on this Grand Prix configuration. Big curbs through Vale and Club, including one right there on the exit. And on the very final apex, times come in, qualifying order adjusts. Pete Thomas to the top and Kevin Bergquist. Barry Hills, as we rode on board with him, has just gone into third place. Ahead of Mike McCormick and Franz Josef Sturm. Roberto Catalano is about to complete a lap. Our pole sitter from race 1 crosses the line. It's all purple sectors, and surprise, surprise, Catalano goes to the top on the first of two flying laps by 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, just complete domination from Catalano in this few races so far. And looking forward to see if he's going to dominate again over Pete Thomas, Bergquist, and all the rest of the grid for the second outing, the final outing in virtual Silverstone.
Well, with Randy Shoemaker, everyone who has completed a lap time, he is sitting the last of them at the moment in 14th, but ahead of the drivers with no time yet. Greg Garris, who completed a lap but must have infringed track limits. Richard Coulomb hasn't been out on track, and Douglas Beasley had the same problem. So it's all about banking a lap in that first run, and then Randy Shoemaker set all personal best sectors around on this lap. So he's heading for a not insignificant improvement on his previous 150.2. Into the Hangar straight and into Stowe for him. He crosses the timing line, continues to improve every single sector quicker than last time around. He's looking to shave a fair bit of time off this lap if he can. On a narrow line into Vale, now opening it up. Power, third gear, fourth gear, completing the lap. That's one of the track limits you need to mind just there. But it looks like Shoemaker's lap has counted of 149.4. Pete Thomas completes a 146.9, which will not have been an improvement over his previous 46.7. So not every driver able to improve on their second lap.
It's a tough track for you to do improvements, right? It's easy to get one corner wrong, and I think one corner just offsets your whole sector and your entire lap. So, and furthermore, it's easy to overheat the tires as you are doing your run. So that's why it's complicated for you to get a good second lap in Silverstone. You can do that, but you're gonna have to be very clean and thorough through your lap and avoid some of the off track, especially here at Cops. Very easy for you to get run if you just run a little bit wider there than usual around the exit of the corner.
So I don't think there's anyone with laps left in the bag. Pete Thomas has completed both of his. Barry Hills look like he completed one and then maybe had to tow. Thomas is practicing that pit entry again. Down to speed. Olsen carrying around as well, either an in-lap or more practice. Randy Shoemake too. Richard Coulomb, the only driver that hasn't been out on track in this qualifying session. Yeah, there's Olsen, who I think got penalised for his pit entry last race, being very careful here in practice. So you can teach an old dog new tricks.
Yep. Shoemake still has one lap to do, right, David?
I think he's done.
Oh, he's done.
He had the minute 50 something, and he set a 49.4, and you get 2 laps to qualify. So it's just 90 seconds left. It's him, Russ Addy, and Barry Hills out on track, but none of them on any competitive laps, so no one can trouble the top 3 of Catalano, Thomas, and Bergqvist. Russ Addy has qualified a little better for race 2 here than he did in race 1. But no Trevor Lawrence by the looks of things.
Maybe something in real life happened for us to lose Trevor Lawrence for this race, but still, nevertheless, we should have a good race in our hands. I'm looking forward for this mid-pack, potentially top 3 even so, David, because Show is close to Bergqvist, McCormick is not far. Barry Hills too, as he's finishing up. Maybe it's like another lap, but I think that's more of a warm-up lap than anything else. So very, very interesting second race that we have on our hands moving forward.
Barry Hills just rolling down the front straight, waiting for the clock to run out. As do we. 17 of 18 drivers have set qualifying times for the final race of 60 Plus Racing Adventures season, and it ends here at Silverstone Circuit. To the grid and short formation lap we go, and it's a familiar sight on the front row of the grid. Roberto Catalano, the pole sitter from Pete Thomas. Kevin Bergqvist up in 3rd with Todd Scholl in 4th. Barry Hills in 5th. Mike McCormick in 6th. Russ Addy in 7th. Franz Josef Sturm in 8th. Gerhardus Jorgensen in 9th. And Ulf Olsen in 10th. Greg Garris in 11th position, ahead of Douglas Beasley in 12th. 5 more drivers set qualifying times. There were Peter Holstrom, Eugene Clark, Bruce Poole, JC Hay, and Randy Shoemake. Richard Coulomb did not go out on track in qualifying, but appears to be on the grid, the only driver missing in the left-hand lane is just behind Todd Scholl, so that's Mike McCormick. Looks like Pete Thomas and almost everyone else is on the grid. It's Mike McCormick. That's all 18 cars on the grid. It accelerates the gridding procedure and the pace car will begin to roll. It only just goes through Stowe Corner before it pulls off to pit entry. Roberto Catalano wasted no time on the race 1 start. We'll see what race 2 has in store. Another required pit stop race in this 15 laps of Silverstone. Porsche pace car exits Stowe and is now on its way out of here. It's in the lane alongside pole sitter Roberto Catalano is Pete Thomas. And I think we're underway at this point. 15 laps now as the green flag waves. Your top 6 have a bit of a gap. Then there's behind Russ Addy, Gerhardus Jorgensen and Franz Josef Sturm. Tyres will be cold once again for this race start, though they will build up temperature pretty quickly at the speeds of Silverstone Circuit. It's tightly packed in the midfield around Bruce Poole and Peter Holstrom, and here Russ Addy battles Mike McCormick. McCormick going wide, wheel spin and almost spinning Russ Addy around. Addy holds on to 6th place.
Ooh, throw a holy moly mother of God moment for Russ Addy right there. I think he even thanked everything that he probably could have thanked. He probably thanked because he survived that half a skid from McCormick. That could have been deadly for both of them.
Certainly was really, really close. Roberto Catalano leads by 0.3 of a second. Pete Thomas will be in his slipstream going onto the Hangar Straight. And looking at Russ Addy here in 6th as the whole field snakes through the sequence of corners that ends in Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight. Pete Thomas still in the slipstream of the race leader. A bit of a gap forming between 2nd and 3rd place. And an unbroken train of cars heading down the straight. I see Peter Holstrom battling Bruce Poole back there as well. Just a couple of the drivers in colourful liveries, easy to spot. Eugene Clark just behind them. All 18 drivers from the race start on the grid continue to run.
And like I imagine, this mid-pack probably would have been the fun spot because they're probably... That's probably what I would say the fun begins. There would be a lot of moves up and down the field, or opportunities for you to move up and down the field as Bruce Poole's trying to find that opening to go ahead and Peter Holstrom, remembering they have push to pass available if they want to so use 150 seconds to add 50 brake horsepower into that IL-15 car that has already 450 brake horsepower in it.
Battles throughout the fields as they remain close on this opening lap and then into lap 2 with push to pass now available. Eugene Clark swapping Randy Shoemake, who dives down the inside of him then checks him up, and Clark is back to 16th place. A handful of drivers already exercising their push to pass, like Roberto Catalano and Pete Thomas in the top 2. Todd Scholl in 4th place, leading a group of cars. Clark runs just a little wide through Copse Corner there. Here's Russ Addy behind Barry Hills, looking to make more moves. Addy's on the push to pass, pulls out to what will be the inside of Stowe Corner, drives alongside Barry Hills. These two collided in turn 2 in race 1. There's now a bit more space between them in race 2.
But he's got to be careful. Remember that he was in a similar situation like this before, right? On race 1, right about the same amount of laps as well. That Russ had a bit of a skid at the exit of the field, opened up the door for the guys behind to overtake, and then had an issue at the exit of the pit box. We got to remind ourselves about that as Randy Shoemake goes into the pit box already.
My understanding is that it might be too early to take fuel. I'll double check.
Oh yeah.
On that, well, it depends because there's 2 ways to do this. There's the fuel tank capacity limit or the fixed setup, and it might be the fixed setup here, which means it would be possible to pit now and get enough fuel. Neither of those drivers have used any of their push to pass just yet, though the group between 4th and 9th, looks oh so competitive. Russ Addy's working his way up through this group. Curtis Jorrison took a spot away from Franz Josef Sturm and looked pretty strong at the end of last race. On board with Jorrison, exiting Chapel, driver in front runs very wide. Mike McCormick is not going to get the run that he wants onto the straight here.
Might have a slowdown.
The bridge. And I don't think he does. I think he just got a poor exit and Jorrison got on the button. So the combination of a better run in the slipstream with the push to pass has rocketed Curtis Jorrison up into 7th place.
No, I agree, but I remember from driving around there, there's a potential slowdown if you just cut way too much or you exit way too deep out of Chapel, and it's about a 1 second slowdown or something like it back in the old days. I don't know if they fixed that or if that still remains.
I've got telemetry that will show me when people have a slowdown.
Okay.
I saw it multiple times last race, but I didn't see it just then. Todd Scholl leads Russ Addy onto the Wellington Straight. Russ Addy is up 2 positions so far in this race. He's looking for 3, but he might have found his match in Todd Scholl. This group beginning to let the top 3 drivers get away. Roberto Catalano has broken the slipstream to Pete Thomas. Kevin Bergquist, using a little bit of his slipstream, sits in 3rd, 2 seconds ahead of this battle.
Meanwhile, Catalano already opening up a big gap with Pete Thomas and Bergquist. As Bergquist not being able to close down the gap to Pete Thomas, just like last race. It's kind of like top 3 running their own races, and then everybody else behind. Either something happens or, you know, it just stays like that for the entirety of the race until the very end.
Both drivers getting a bit of push to pass done, but Russ Addy willing to break a little bit deeper into the corner there. Almost got caught out by Todd Scholl's 4th and 5th go into the final sector. We only had 2 drivers pit just yet. Shoemake and Hay onto the front straight. Push to pass is very equal in terms of amount remaining for Scholl and Addy. Once again, Roberto Catalano has chosen to really front load his usage of push to pass, trying to build a gap and break the slipstream. It seems to have worked.
And we have a car off at Village. That might have been either Bruce Poole or JC Hay that could have had an issue, but we don't know what caused it.
Bruce Poole has entered pit lane. JC Hay has just towed in the last 15 seconds. Some drama going on there. No one else dropping down the timing totem particularly quickly. So I'd suggest JC Hay has had something happen. Exactly what, I don't know. Todd Scholl defending the inside of Cops Corner versus Russ Addy. Don't think that'll work very well because you need to use all of the road going in there. Russ Addy right at his rear wheel going into this sequence of corners. Todd Scholl's on a bad line for the entry. Russ Addy will look to slalom underneath him, over-under, prioritise the exit onto the hangar straight. Just 2 tenths between them, exiting that corner, both of them holding down, push to pass, but Russ Addy will hold it down longer, getting a run at Todd Scholl, looking for the inside of Stowe Corner and banking on Scholl to break a little bit earlier again, but it didn't happen. Todd Scholl remains in 4th place from Russ Addy and Barry Hills.
Yeah, and deeper braking from Russ Addy as it probably makes a tiny mistake around Vale. That is going to cost some time on Club and allows Barry Hills to approach for a potential overtake at the entry of Village, but I don't think the number 66 is going to take that opportunity as Ross has already approached again the number 35 of Todd Scholl.
This is one of the most exciting groups you're going to find. Todd Scholl, Russ Addy, Barry Hills, Gerhardus Jorgensen, Mike McCormick, all very close on track, still waiting on a pit stop out of all of these drivers. So how they execute that could be very critical in Todd Scholl's position. If he gets it wrong, it could cost him a lot of spots. For Mike McCormick, he's looking at this group of drivers in front of him. Conversely, if he times his stop well and does all the little bits around that well, he could pick up plenty of positions. On board with Russ Addy. He was so close to Todd Scholl at this part of the track a lap ago. Does he look to approach it differently this time?
And both are going to be on push to pass, I think. Oh, actually, Russ just decides to save a little bit of P2P in this lap.
Late call for pit entry. He's going to dive across part of the line. Now he's got to slow down. And no flags displayed for Russ Addy. I think he's done that okay. He's decided he's going to try to undercut Todd Scholl with an earlier stop. Most of the rest of the field stays out, and that mirrors what we saw in race 1, where the strategy and race length was identical. Most drivers stopped closer to lap 8 or 9.
We had some late pitters, but the difference in the pit lane wasn't all that much. Maybe a few tenths of a second here and there, but I think the joke, I'm not gonna say the joke, but the play might be in this middle of the field where Todd Scholl, Russ Addy, Barry Hills, Jorgensen, McCormick is sitting at right now, because that overcut or undercut, depending on circumstances, might be highly effective depending on how the outlap is for example, Russ Addy. If he's really good on the outlap and is able to cut down some deficit with the potential field that he has up ahead of him, might have some clear traffic.
Here's Todd Scholl's teammate Greg Garris in 10th place, just behind Ulf Olsen in 9th. Last lap, Greg Garris was 3/10 quicker. He's applying a little bit of pressure. Exit onto the Hangar Straight seems to be one of the most critical corners on this track, because it's one of the ones that will allow you to set up a run. Not seeing many overtaking maneuvers happening at the end of the Wellington Straight or at the end of the Pit Straight, so the Hangar Straight seems very, very key. Greg Garris coming to pit lane as a bunch of drivers in front of him have, so Jorgensen, McCormick, Sturm, and now Greg Garris. Critically, Todd Scholl stays out. The gap between Scholl and Russ Addy must be studied. Pit stall gets assigned based on your qualifying order, so your pole sitter has the pits box right at the very exit, and so most of our fields of 18 cars are pretty near the exit end of the pit lane. Mike McCormick's stop completed. He's back out on track. 9.9 seconds of fuel for him, a little longer than some of the others. Russ Addy is the highest placed driver who's made their pit stop. It's currently 29 seconds behind Todd Scholl, who's trying to undercut. Let's see which way that moves. I think it's going advantage Russ Addy after the early stop. Eugene Clark's behind Douglas Beasley. Neither of these drivers have stopped yet.
Yeah, but still, it's interesting to see that some of the guys are more conservative on the usage of the push to pass this time around, right? First race, some of them were basically wasting everything they were throwing at them. For example, Berquist at the midpoint of the race, I think at this point nearly had used about 50% or 60% of his push to pass, as he's now doing that again. But now we're seeing some of the guys being more conservative, maybe just using draft, trying to use a little bit of pressure to try to get closer, and then use maybe the push pass to overtake.
Wolf Olsen pits, and he appears to enter the lane without picking up a penalty. So he'll be happy with that. Qualified in 10th place. He's racing very well so far, Wolf Olsen. He's going to get his stop underway when he hits his pit crew right about now. Car looks a little ungainly in these second gear corners, but fast changes of direction through Maggots and Beckett's and some of the other corners, the Indy Next car looks very, very nice. So just a couple of different types of corners around here. Slow second gear ones don't look as great as the high speed.
Yeah, especially for a car that sits halfway in between an F2 and F3. Has some, I would say more, I'm probably going to say some more downforces potentially an F3 car does, but, or nearly at the same level, but anyway, because I think the push to pass might have some more horsepower than the current Dallara F312 has.
First and second place are in pit lane, so Catalano comes in, followed by Pete Thomas. Bergqvist stays out, as he was keen to do last race, but Todd Scholl, Barry Hills, and a few other drivers looking to come in. So Kevin Bergqvist will get a lap led, I think. Catalano, pole sitter again, has pit box number 1 again. 30 seconds from pit entry to drive down there and get his pit stop underway. It goes cleanly for him. He's away. Pete Thomas gets a really quick stop though. That'll make things close again between Catalano and Thomas, but Thomas has had a problem. What's Thomas done? He exited the lane ahead of Beasley and Clark, and then I think he's been off the road. Ooh. He got a really good pit stop time. Okay, the cars that haven't pitted come out in between. Despite the good pit stop time, the lane time was still not great for Pete Thomas. Now there's traffic in between him and Catalano. Catalano's come out ahead of these cars that haven't stopped yet. Well, Pete Thomas hasn't. This is the exit. So Catalano gets away. Good launch. Pete Thomas has a quick pit stop time. Doesn't get up to speed as quickly, and there comes the cars that haven't stopped yet in between Thomas and his rival for the race win.
Feels like the car, I'm not going to say stalled, but it felt like stalling of sorts, didn't it?
And then maybe he was a little bit late with releasing the limiter as well. He was on an odd angle for that ramp up the hill. Maybe didn't set himself up for the launch and to get back to racing quickly. Kevin Bergqvist comes in with 5 laps to go. And Douglas Beasley and Eugene Clark come in as well. Things get just a little close there as they come into the lane, and now we have seen everybody. Roberto Catalano will go back to the lead of the race.
Yeah, with the big gap in hand already, 3 seconds separate him as Pete Thomas comes out. Bergqvist is just coming out about 2.5 seconds behind the number 15.
And a 10-second stop from Todd Scholl has been a little bit costly. Lane to lane, entry to exit, Todd Scholl stopped 2 seconds slower than Russ Addy, and he is 2.6 seconds behind him on track now. Russ Addy has undercut the pack to 4th place. The driver was with a quick stop. Gerhardus Jorrison gets a good one as well, so he's just behind Barry Hills. Franz Josef Schum, Ulf Olsen, and Greg Garris in a battle as well. Who's been using it has the most push to pass left? Mike McCormick has 126 seconds left in his bank. don't really want to include Eugene Clark, Randy Shoemaker, Bruce Poole, who haven't used any, because it doesn't seem like they're going to start. Douglas Beasley has just spun off the road.
I remember one race in Indy cars when they were using push to pass. I actually forgot. I didn't use any of the push to passes because I actually forgot to map the button. So that could be a thing, but I don't. But to be honest, the way they've been racing these entire season, I don't think they actually forgot to map a button on their wheel.
Board with Greg Garris. He's behind Ulf Olsen, making sure he follows the slipstream, particularly at speed. 272 kilometers an hour for Garris before he breaks into Stowe Corner. So that, for a junior car, is a lot of speed. And it's why the slipstream can be so powerful. It gets exponential up at those kind of speeds, cutting through the air. Gets a good line through the tight and ponderous corners as well to get close to Ulf Olsen. Franz Josef Sturm, my sense, just pulling away from this group a little bit, 3/10 quicker than Olsen and Garris on that lap just completed.
And he was looking for an overtaking opportunity on Olsen, but didn't decide to risk, and also Olsen just didn't budge. Now he budges.
Garris on the push to pass, as indicated by the green down there, did pretty well with his lines, trying to open up the entrance of those two tight corners, straighten the car so we could really use all the horsepower for a good exit. Lots of drivers using their remaining push to pass. About to be 3 laps to go for the race leader, who's got just over 2.5 seconds in hand over Pete Thomas. Teammates here, Barry Hills and Gerhardus Jorrison, with plenty of push to pass left. 105 seconds to use in 3 laps for Gerhardus Jorrison. I wonder if some of these drivers can't see how much they have remaining, and therefore not realizing they've actually got a lot.
Could be. Not gonna lie, it could be. I remember that I don't know if in the if some of these guys, for example, use caps. I don't know if caps already has a change from usage to numbers in the push to pass, so they might not have a full idea how long they have left in terms of usage. But I think that even iRacing Dash kind of tells them how many seconds they have left in to use.
Wheel on the car, or something else ought to tell you. Ulf Olsen's been off the road twice trying to defend from Greg Garris. He ran deep into turn 3, came back at the apex of 4, just run off a little wide there in front of Greg Garris, who's not been able to get past despite more speed and perhaps fewer incident points. Garris not able to stay close through this section, but continually prioritises corner exit more than Ulf Olsen does. Easy to do when you're the following car, because when you're the leading car, you don't want to open up any opportunity that they're tempted to dive through.
Trying to go for a slow in, fast out, maybe technique.
Yeah, in fast corners and slow corners, it seems to repeat itself. Greg Garris just opens it up a little bit more. Ulf Olsen dives in a little more, as shown there again, and Greg Garris is like, can I get to the inside here, but not quite. Olsen has a bit of a slide. Garris pushes a little bit wide. They have 2 more laps to try to settle this. We've got a Catalano's got to hold on for 2 laps to clean sweep Silverstone from Pete Thomas and Kevin Bergqvist, and the teammates Barry Hills and Gerhardus Jorgensen also battling it out. This is one of those places I was saying Garris just goes a bit wider, comes to a later apex, and then just tries to straighten up the traction a little more.
Yeah, but fair play to Garris. If he wanted to go fully aggressive around the club corners, he could have wanted to, but didn't to. I think he was just respectful, not try to take the opponent out, and just take that fight on the tarmac, be as clean as it can be.
Ahead of them, we noticed Franz Josef Sturm beginning to pull away a little bit. I think he's been able to break the toe, and it's made Ulf Olsen a little more vulnerable here. Again, going into a section of track where Olsen seems to pull a couple more car lengths sometimes. Garris, nearly hits him. Garris has followed too closely, has not set up a good exit, but in making car contact with Ulf Olsen, who's been off the road so many times, it has pushed Ulf Olsen past 17 incident points, and on the penultimate lap, disqualified Ulf Olsen. The contact between Olsen and Garris was too much for Olsen.
That's unfortunate, but of course he didn't mean to do that, but that's just how racing is sometimes, and there's a certain threshold of points that you can use in terms of incidents, and unfortunately Olsen, even if you didn't want to get those off tracks, he eventually got them and got punished by it.
Yeah, I wonder how bad Greg Garris feels about that on a scale of awful to not at all, because twice Ulf Olsen ran off track defending his position and kept it by racking up incident points in various places. Roberto Catalano's on the final lap of the race. He is headed towards that clean sweep, but in 5th, 6th and 7th, Todd Scholl has been caught by these teammates, Barry Hills and Gerhardus Jorgensen. Jorgensen still with oodles and oodles of push to pass in the bank. Todd Scholl about to run out. There's less seconds left in the race for Gerhardus Jorgensen than he has seconds of push to pass. He really hasn't maximised that, but Roberto Catalano has, because he's just run his savings account empty on this final lap, pushing for the fastest lap of the race as well. Roberto Catalano, 0 seconds of push to pass, but soon to be twice a race winner here at Silverstone in 60-plus racing adventures. He ends this season as well as you possibly could. 2 poles, 2 fastest laps, and 2 wins for Roberto Catalano at Silverstone. Pete Thomas and Kevin Bergqvist on the podium. Todd Scholl holding off Barry Hills and Gerhardus Jorgensen.
A great win for Catalano in this race, as we still have a few other people to finish. Garris tried to go for a late launch around club, but wasn't enough to get on Franz Sturm, as basically most of our cars have completed over here our race, David, and to wrap up our final race of the season in 60 Plus Adventures NXT.
Things are a little closer in the hunt for the fastest lap of the race. Both Pete Thomas and Kevin Bergqvist also getting into the minute 46s, but they couldn't get Roberto Catalano's 146.2. There's also the race winner from Pete Thomas and Kevin Bergqvist. Those 3 relatively close after 15 laps. No room for a mistake from any of them. Russ Addy with the early pit stop undercut a bunch of drivers to get to 4th place. Finishing ahead of Todd Scholl, who managed to hold off Barry Hills and Gerhardus Jorgensen. Mike McCormick driving it to 8th. Franz Josef Sturm and Greg Garris completing the top 10. Eugene Clark finishing 11th. Peter Holstrom finishing 12th. Randy Shoemake in 13th. Bruce Poole's the last driver on the lead lap. That's scoring Ulf Olsen in 15th there. But because he was a DQ, not a retirement, I've actually got him behind Richard Coulomb on my timing. Douglas Beasley and JC Hay are pulling the plug 4 and 11 laps before the end of the race. How's your Italian, Lorenzo?
Molto buono, molto buono. I can speak a thing even though I'm Italian, believe it or not. Just basic words.
Race 1, so you're going to speak to Roberto Catalano after race 2, probably in English.
Yeah, I'm just going to say first and foremost, buonasera, Roberto. Another race win over here to wrap up our season. How does it feel, man?
Yes, buonasera Lorenzo. Your name is Italian name, and I am from with you. Yes, it's a good race, similar to the first. Pete and Kevin push hard in the first laps, but I create a gap that permit me to win. I don't know if I used the correct word, but it's difficult. It's a great track, Silverstone. I love it. Every lap you learn something. It's a great car, and I want thanks all the administrators of our league. It's a fantastic league. All drivers are fantastic drivers, very fast. I enjoyed very well the season.
Oh, that's nice to know. And talk about your lead in the second race. In the first one, you weren't using as much the push to pass as in this race. You were using it more. Was this something that you felt you had to do it in this second race because it basically the whole grid behind you was trying to use a little bit more, or was it something like just try it something different in this race?
Yes, Pete want a different want to do a different strategy over the first race. He on the start he go very near to me, and I cannot take the last corner as I want, and it's difficult create a gap with him, and I use push to pass to do it. But I think that also Pete use push to pass, and the first 4 or 5 laps are very difficult because a little mistake can cost me the race, and the same obviously for Pete. But he was very fast, and I think that also Kevin create a pressure on in it's more difficult than you can see watching the race.
Right, and finally about the next season of 60 Plus Adventures. Before we let you go, Roberto, is there any how are you looking for next season? Are you excited? Maybe coming back with the NXT car. Which car would you rather race if you were to race next season?
Yes, I am very excited for the next season because every week is an adventure. The name of our leagues is it, and it's real. Every week is an adventure. I like Formula 4 and NXT. Open well, and every week 2 days for 4 races, 4 battles. There are great drivers, very fast, very kind, never a problem on the track, and it's fantastic. I am learning from all of us, and I enjoyed every week. I am very excited for the next week.
Well, that's great to know, Roberto. We'll let you rest, man. Get your energies back up for next season. Grande gara, by the way, and we'll see you.
Grande italiano, bravo.
That's all I'm gonna say in Italian. That's all I know.
Okay,
But we'll see you next season.
Thank you very much.
Cultural correspondent Lorenzo Bonda there with Roberto Catalano, a double race winner. He comes up just about 22 points short in the championship, not quite within reach to be able to catch champion Greg Seitz. But what fun it sounds like they're having here in 60 Plus Racing Adventures. I say it, more people turn 60 every year, so this could be the league for you, or the league for you in a couple of years. David Haynes with Lorenzo Bonda and Hugo Lewis. Our pleasure to be once again bringing you coverage of 60 Plus Racing Adventures here on RaceSpotTV. Roberto Catalano can't wait, and we can't wait for next season either.